Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. I don't know how we got here, but September has arrived. So this year has seemed to go by really, really quickly, but here we are in September. And so we're going to take a look at the individual life path numbers, the forecast for September 2023 in this episode. Before we get into that, this, of course, is a general reading. If you would like a personalized reading, please book some time with me. My information is in the description box below. I would love to take a look at your personal numerology and let you know what I see. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Life path number 6. So for the month of September, you have an animal wisdom message from Snow Leopard, and you're working with the energy of the 4. And so these two actually work together beautifully. The Snow Leopard energy sort of reminds me of that of the Hermit in tarot. And so there's definitely this opportunity this month for a lot of introspection, like a lot of going within, checking in with your heart center, seeing, is what you're building, what you want to be building, and that includes for career, purpose, relationships, creative projects, whatever the case may be. Because anytime the 4 shows up, it calls for some kind of introspection. It calls for some sort of pause to make sure that, where you're investing your energy and time and resources, where you're investing all that into is what you actually want. And so that you're not building somebody else's dream, but you're working on building a sustainable future for yourself and your family, right? And then others as that, as needed type thing. So with Snow Leopard and 4 energy, there's definitely something that sort of brings it in, again, not only to the heart center to check in with yourself, to make sure that you still feel aligned with those areas of your life, right? That are like your foundations. If you don't, then it's up to you to start making those modifications or those changes and to go in to start the process of rebuilding something or, potentially modifying and then rebuilding something that works for you or that is aligned for you, again, with your career, business, relationships, whatever. There's also something here about like the structure, right? So this takes it more to like your physical body. And that can include holistic health, but really it comes down to like your physical body. How do you feel, right? Like, does there need to be a modification when it comes to your diet or your exercise routine, or how much, what your work-life balance is, or how much time you spend in nature or in things that lift you up, right? That aren't draining. If majority of your time is spent with people or in experiences that are draining or stressful or anxiety inducing, then that's going to have an effect on your physical body. And so with the 4 and the Snow Leopard coming through, there's definitely this sort of emphasis being put on your responsibility of checking in with yourself to making sure that everything feels good for you. And if it doesn't, then you're the only one that can start to make those changes. And you will be the only one that knows what does feel right for you or what does feel good for you. And so with Snow Leopard and the 4, it's sort of going to put the pressure on you this month to really get serious about that and dedicate yourself towards making those modifications or those changes. Now, if you feel really good about every area within your life, good for you. That's great, right? So then this reading is probably not for you. But if there's areas where you do feel like, you're over-investing or over-committing to somebody else's dream or journey and sort of neglecting your own, or your own physical, mental, emotional health, if you're so invested in somebody else's that you're neglecting your own, then this is going to be a really important month for sort of realigning with yourself and figuring out what it is that you want, what you need, and how to go about, achieving that. The other thing is, if you've been too sort of focused on the bigger vision, so like the end goal or the future too much, right? Like your mind is constantly going to the future and like what you want to create or what it is that you want to achieve or et cetera, right? Focused on the bigger picture, then this month is going to really sort of put the pressure on dialing it back down to the details, to the present moment, and really being very present with yourself, your situation, within your relationships, whatever the case may be, so that you can make those adjustments. Because really the adjustments have to take place at sort of the more mundane or the more dialed in details, right? And then that affects the outcome, so to speak. So definitely something there. Whereas if you're too focused on the bigger picture, this is a great month to dial it in. The other thing is if there's any area within your life that you're really trying very hard to control the outcome, or you're clinging to it for fear of losing it or fear of it not turning out the way that you want it to, the 4 can sort of bring the reality check of, anything that we cling to or we attach to, oftentimes we end up losing because we've, sort of suffocated it. And so the 4 coming in will say, release your grip, release your control, and surrender to whatever it is that you're trying to hold on to, and see, does it stay, or does it expand and grow, or does it leave, right? Because when we're not trying to control it, we see what it actually wants to do or what it needs to do for our own journey, and if it's a person, for their own journey. So there's definitely a lot of sort of deeper like self-discovery possible this month, and a sort of evaluation again of the path that you're on and your contribution to that path, and are you happy with it? And are you happy with the way that others are showing up to your experience? And if not, then again, that's another conversation, right? So yeah, just a lot of deeper, like a deep dive, right, into again your own journey and your own power and what it is that you want to create. And here's the thing too with the 4, it's like, you have the vision, because 4 energy is very solution focused. So a lot of solutions can come in during a 4 cycle. But the key is that you have to be very sort of realistic about how you're getting to that solution, right? So again, the 4 is also the reality check. That's like, okay, we want to do this, but what is it going to take? And what do we need to do? And what's my contribution? And what is, where are my limitations? And where do I need to call in others who have strengths where I have those limitations to assist, so that we can build whatever this is. So it can be a lot of that, where you could get a lot of sort of solutions coming in. But you got to keep checking in with yourself and just make sure that you're paying attention to those details, because the actual solution can't be found or achieved if we're not paying attention to the details. So I definitely feel like this is a time for just bringing it in, just a checkpoint, right? Checkpoint energy. So hopefully you can, take the time to honor that, especially as a 6, because 6 energy is such a nurturing energy. It's such a giving energy. And so the focus is oftentimes on others. So this month, it's really going to be about you and going within and checking, those checkpoints, right? And then you might discover that there's areas where you are depleted because you've given too much of yourself. And so now what? What's the next step? And only you can figure that out. So big month for introspection, for just really owning your space and taking the time to check in with yourself. Come back to yourself this month. Make sure that everything feels good for you, that your heart is in it. If it is, great, keep going. If it's not, then some modifications might need to be made. So I hope it's a great month for you all 6s. Take care. Bye for now.